Hello, welcome back and to part 2 of Why is Empirical Software Engineering Hard? In this part we will look into the context. You may remember this exercise from the previous lecture. So the exercise asked, what factors affect software engineering productivity? And it requested you to match a title for the top productivity factor. So the productivity factors, that is how much they improve software engineering productivity, are given on the left, and the titles for these productivity factors are given on the right. And the question was to guess or to know which productivity factor results in productivity boost of 4.18. And the productivity factors that were evaluated were programming practices, software tools, personnel and team capability, and requirements volatility. Now, if you do not remember the answer, you might stop this video for a while and think about this. Okay, and in here you have the answer. You can see that personnel and team capability was the top productivity factor. However, this is the truth only in average. In reality, there are no context-free truths in software engineering. Now I will give an illustrative example of context, not in the domain of software engineering, but from the domain that is a bit easier to understand. It is in the domain of travel. So the question is, what is the best way to travel? Car or shoes? So, some years ago I presented this question in a lecture and there was a student just rushing in, not understanding anything I was talking about. So I asked him, what is the best way to travel? And she was immediately able to provide the correct answer. I don't know. Where are you going? This answer reflects the fact that what is the best way to travel really depends a lot. Okay, so in the slide you can see me. This is my former car, and these are my trail running shoes that exemplify these two choices. So there is no best way to travel, but each of the two alternatives has some positive and some negative factors. If we look at the car, we can figure out that it's rather fast, at least compared to shoes. It carries people and quite a lot of cargo. It has very high endurance. However, it is expensive to buy, high maintenance, services, insurances, and so on. And it also requires that the roads are there, which are very expensive to build. You need a driver's license, and so on. And if we compare the car to shoes, we can see that the shoes are rather cheap. There's a little maintenance. Or you can buy new shoes quite easily if the old ones wear out. You can basically access everywhere, wilderness, crowded areas, such areas where you cannot access with a car. The downsides of the shoes are that it's slow. Take what you can carry. I mean, you cannot have a lot of extra cargo. You certainly cannot have any passengers, unless you are very strong. And finally, the one who wears the shoes, his physical form determines the endurance of how far you can go. The example is rather simple, and the answer is pretty obvious. However, we should think the same way when we consider software engineering tools, techniques, or processes. There is no best alternative in finding defects. For example, the previous case from Ericsson compared inspections and software testing. There is also no best way to develop software. So students often approach and want to do research on, I would like to know whether it is better to do agile or waterfall-based software development. The answer, unfortunately, often is, it depends. Like this slide here. Whether it's better to do agile or waterfall depends on where you are going, how big the product is, what kind of organization do you have, and so on. Now we understand that there is no best option or best alternative that would be universal, but rather that the best option depends on the context. Now let's move to software engineering examples to see what this context really is.